But behind the work of art, there was the schedule of requirements of the promoters. The Milas engaged Gaudi to design a building for them that, apart from their own residence, had to include some 20 flats to rent, parking space, attics, a terrace. How was this impressive mass to be converted into a living space, open to the light of day? He envisaged a building constructed around 2 large interior patios. The first patio is circular, intended for living in, a center of interaction and a source of light. It was an innovation at the beginning of the 20th century, breaking with tradition. Gaudi considered the courtyard of a building to be something other than a more or less insalubrious hole. The second patio is oval in shape. Between these 2 patios are the air shafts. Gaudi put the drains and ventilation systems for the kitchens and bathrooms here, thus ridding himself of the functional constraints that would otherwise have spoiled the look of the 2 large and prestigious patios. They are connected by a passage that leads to the basements, with the entrance to the parking area. They say that the architect had at first thought of making a spiral ramp from the basement right up to the top floor. Carriages would be able to carry their passengers to each landing, and the horses would go back down to their stables in the basement. While Gaudi gave up this idea, he had to resign himself to designing a parking space for the motor cars that were becoming more numerous every day, especially among the wealthy folk living in La Pedrera. The area has since been converted into a conference room, but at the time, this underground car park was one of the first to be built in Europe. An umbrella-like structure hangs over the garage. It is not welded, but held together with nuts and bolts. The floor of the circular courtyard is held up by this metallic structure with its central crown and girders. Gaudi took his inspiration for this device by studying the system for supporting the roof of the crypt in the Cathedral of Barcelona. Gaudi's idea was that the attics and the terrace of the building should constitute a protective area and a roof, respectively. It is no longer the columns that structure this part of the building, but the catenary arches in brick that avoid adding the weight of a heavy terrace to the building. It leads up to the terrace. There it becomes badalo, a construction imagined by Gaudi, parts covered with fragments of stone, marble, enameled ceramics, others coated with lime wash and plaster. 270 parabolic arches form a brick vaulting. These arches have the municipal regulations because his terrace took up too much room. All sorts of utilitarian functions were designed to go into this unusual roof. The upper part of the stairwells, ventilation shafts, chimneys, water tanks. Never any conventional air outlets.